Welcome to MJ Hobby Corner. In today's in this video, I want to show some of the steps that I take when I'm sculpting. And this particular sculpture is different because I normally sculpture creatures. That's my favorite thing to sculpture for our games. And in this particular figure, I am going to do more of a humanoid sci-fi figure. So this will be for either 5 Parsecs from Home or Stargrave. So we'll see how it comes out in the end. But these are the very first steps of the sculpture. And today I got as far as basically up to the torso. So you'll see that in the video. So first, I spent some time kneading my clay, and I just sped this up a little bit, just so that it doesn't take too long. And this is generally when I mix my PROCREATE clay with my green stuff. That's what I will be using for this sculpture. Once I have the hardener and resin components mixed for each of the clays, I then mixed PROCREATE and green stuff in a 1-to-1 ratio. My tools are varied. I use my X-Acto knife, my smooth clay shapers, and I have some ball tools there, and also my wax carver tools, which I use for sculpting. They're metallic. There's one of those wax carver tools. And here is what I call my paddle tool, which is a wax carver, and that is excellent for shaping and sculpting. So here is the figure, and this is the first time I'm really trying a humanoid like this. I usually do creatures. And first things first, I add tiny amounts of green stuff at a time to the sculpture. I never take globs of clay and then add it at once. It has to be little by little, adding bits of clay to the feet. That's where I start. And then start to shape the feet a little bit with my paddle tool. And little by little, I build up all the clay to form the boot. And that's what I'm doing now. And I'm sorry if, there it is. It's better now. It's in focus. So I sped things up a little bit, but you'll see in a minute that I use gentle movements for shaping the clay, and sometimes I will pull on the clay a little bit. Here I'm using my ball tool like a rolling pin, and I go back and forth between tools depending on what I need to shape. So I'm still working on the boot here, and there's my paddle tool. I'm just shaping the boot and the area around the ankles as well. And then just kind of move up the leg very slowly, adding little tiny bits of clay at a time. When you add little bits of clay, it's a lot easier to shape things, and you can catch mistakes as you go a lot easier as well. So here again, I'm shaping, and there's my ball tool. You can see it being used like a rolling pin to smoothen some areas out and round some areas out as well. So now I'm adding more clay, and this is for the knee pads, and it's just a little glob of clay. And once I add it to kind of mark where the knees are going to be, I can then shape that accordingly. Now here I'm just removing excess clay. Whenever you're working with resin clays, you need an X-Acto knife to get rid of excess clay. My soft clay shaper is very good for when I really want to shape things and not have the clay stick to the tool. One nice thing about soft clay shapers is that green stuff doesn't stick to it as much. So it's very good. Now there's always a little cup of water nearby where I can dip my tools. And here I just sped things up a little bit because I'm still shaping the boots. And what I would do to one side, I do to the other. That's generally my rule. Here I'm adding some straps to the boots, because as you will see later, I want to have like some big straps that go around the boot. And that's what I'm doing now. It's basically just rolling a very thin piece of clay and then attaching it to the boot to make the straps. And I go in with my paddle tool to make sure that those straps stick on to the clay underneath. So little by little, things are very rough still with the figure, and here I'm using tweezers. Tweezers are actually very helpful, I find, to whenever you're making straps or belts or anything like that, and you can kind of pull the clay apart to get the sizes that you need. And really, I have found that tweezers help a lot for a lot of different things. But never underestimate the use of scissors. I use little cuticle scissors and make sure I wet them. Those really small scissors, and they cut green stuff very well. And scissors can make a very good cutting tool as well, as long as you wet it. So again, I'm just shaping here. I'm adding flat pieces of clay for the regions of the leg that are going to be cloth, and I call this the like mummy technique, because you're adding like these little strips of clay, and then with the ball tool I kind of smoothen everything and join everything up and shape everything up. And usually when I'm doing like areas of cloth, this is what I'll do. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And again, I'm trying to keep the figure in the camera. I often move it very much. So here with the soft clay shaper, I kind of just attach the piece of clay, and then I'm just adding a little bit to the waist, and basically the crotch area, doing the crotch plate, since this figure will have some armor on it. So there you go. Things are a little better shaped. Still working on the cloth area there, but things are a little better shaped. Now, in order to cut straps or little pieces that I need, I always roll my clay into a cigar shape or a tube shape and cut tiny amounts, and that's what I use. So there you go. Here's this is the progress that I got today by working today, about an hour work, and this is what I have so far. So basically, when I sculpture, I take my time. It's very little by little, and I suspect that this figure will take a few days still to really get everything sculpted the way I want to. So definitely, if you're interested in this kind of work, look out the next few days. And hopefully, once it's complete, I will paint it, and it'll go right to the tabletop, and you'll see it used in our games. So thank you guys, and talk to you guys very soon.